Consumers could soon be asking, where's the beef? Farmers get a jump on spring planting, and Michigan ethanol plants are also cutting back production. I'm Janelle Brose, and this is Farm News 5.
Farm News 5 is brought to you by Ford.
The COVID-19 pandemic has shut down or reduced shifts at meat processing plants across the country. And now hotspots have popped up at JBS in Plainwell, Herbruck's Poultry Ranch in Ionia, and Michigan Turkey Producers' Wyoming, Michigan facility. The companies all say they're taking steps to reduce the spread of the virus, including ensuring employees have proper personal protective equipment.
The thing that was really keeping me up at night was the possibility of more plant closures. If my farmers don't have a place to market their hogs, they're going to have to take some drastic action. They can last for a couple weeks, a month, finding more room. But every day that the plants are closed, these pigs back up. And it could take, 6 months or more even if all the plants opened up, for those pigs to get, back on track. And they also were concerned about the plants not opening at 100% capacity. The cold water plant, from what I'm told, is working at full capacity, but some of the other plants that aren't shut down are only working at partial capacity. So we still have that backlog. So that's still, it wouldn't take much to continue this backlog in hogs. And we really need to get these plants completely open and get that supply chain moving as quickly as possible.
A lot of the plants are closing, some are closing for about 2 weeks while they disinfect and then come back and implement social distancing measures and other protective measures for their workers. In terms of this being a new normal, if these plants do not get back online, then there will not be a processed product moving through the meat supply chain into grocery stores. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to go to the supermarket and it's going to be an empty, shelf or an empty section. It's just that depending on the number of plants that continue to remain closed and reduce capacity, there's going to be a decrease in that supply.
In an effort to ensure there are no meat shortages at grocery stores, President Trump signed an executive order earlier this week deeming processing plants as essential.
It is something that we've been asking for. Food chain is definitely essential, and the workers that work in the processing plants are very important to us. So the CDC and OSHA came out with guidelines on Sunday that we encourage the processing plants, or the processing plants will have to follow. And the president's order will just reinforce that and hopefully get these plants up and running and get our pigs moving through again.
If you want a car from a company that's been building them for 115 years, get a Ford. If you want a car with driver assist technology, get a Ford. You're gonna want a Ford.
Prior to midweek rains, a break in the wet weather gave producers the opportunity to get their planters rolling. While late April is a bit early for some Michigan growers, many found soil conditions were ripe for getting seed in the ground.
The southern tier of counties, or southern couple tier of counties, have gotten a little bit of jump on the rest of the state. And that's pretty normal for them to get a little bit ahead of the rest of the state, with maybe a little warmer temperatures, in some cases a little bit lighter soils that they're able to get on a little bit earlier. But in general, a lot of the state has had some earlier drying conditions than we normally would have had. So it's pretty widespread, maybe just trying a field or two early in the season that they normally wouldn't have been able to. Some of the concern that growers were having, soil temperatures and air temperatures, just not quite fit for corn and soybean germination. And so there'd been some questions about, is this the right time to go ahead and put some seed in the ground? But over the last couple of years, growers have become a little more comfortable, or maybe even a little confident in putting soybeans into cooler soil, earlier planting timing than they normally would, and have had pretty good results. There is some risk with that, of course. If we go too early, we may have some problems with emergence and then cold conditions after that would cause a loss of stand. But in general, we've seen some pretty good results with being able to get out there a little bit earlier than normal.
So far, we've just been planting 2 days. We've probably got close to 800 acres in the ground probably. As you can see, it doesn't take much time with a 48-row planter. You can do about 80 acres an hour. We actually got 2 other planters rolling and a bean planter as well, so we're cruising right along. We farm around 8,500 acres, corn, wheat, and soybeans. We're going to be putting in about 3,500 acres corn and 3,500 acres of beans. Then we got about the remaining left in wheat. We just got to get the seed in the ground and then let Mother Nature do the work.
While COVID-19 has not impacted Van Gilder's work in the field, it is impacting home life on the farm.
My wife, she's a nurse up in Sparrow, and it's affected her. Actually, hasn't really had to go into work because there's been lack of people in the hospitals, minus the COVID people, but they only need enough nurses, to cover them. Everything's at a standstill. Kids are at home every day when they should be in school, and it's just a different thing than what we're used to.
What happens when a road accident results in a hazardous waste spill? Contact Attorney Dirk Beckwith at 248-539-9918 to learn the next steps.
Just about every sector of Michigan's agriculture industry has been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, and that includes the state's ethanol industry and the farmers who grow corn to supply it. 3 of Michigan's 5 ethanol plants are closed. Meanwhile, the 2 that are open have scaled back production because of record low crude oil prices and fuel consumption that has been cut in half because fewer people are leaving their homes. The ethanol industry was left out of the USDA's recent $19 billion rescue package for agriculture. So where does this leave the corn growers? Well, they now have fewer takers for their crop at a time when farmers are making final decisions on what to put in the ground this spring. And now, from Michigan Ag Commodities with our weekly market report, here's Chris Betts.
Thanks, Janelle. Ag commodities are looking to find their footing amidst pressure from the fallout of the coronavirus. Outside markets have lent some support earlier this week as oil made a recovery off lows put in last week as the May contract expired. Oil storage is still an issue, but scaled reopenings of economies around the world will lend support across the board. The debate is on over what macroeconomic conditions will look like post-quarantine, which will make for continued big swings in outside markets. Corn and beans will remain under pressure in the near term because of a lack of ethanol demand and diminished meat processing. Longer term, favorable U.S. planting conditions will weigh on deferred contracts. There were some signs of exports picking up this week, with China back at the table. For more market information, go to michag.com. With Michigan Agricultural Commodities, I'm Chris Betts.
For more news and video, visit MichiganFarmNews.com or the Michigan Farm Bureau channel on YouTube. With Farm News 5, I'm Janelle Brose. Have a great week of farming.